Own your next move. Bold moves in business and life. Every successful story begins with a bold decision. Join me, Jennifer McPherson, as I uncover conversations with entrepreneurs, leaders, and innovators about pivotal moments that shape their journey. Authentic insights, inspiring lessons, and practical wisdom to help you own your own next. Welcome to Own Your Next. I'm Jennifer McPherson. I didn't start my first business until I was 48. I spent decades behind the scenes and decided to give it a go at owning my own next move. Since then, I've built companies, navigated real setbacks, and learned firsthand that success is far more about mindset rather than timing, talent, or even luck. Jennifer McPherson here, host of this show, where we feature leaders from architectural, engineering, and construction companies and explore how they connect with communities, build trust, and tell compelling stories about the work that they do. This episode is brought to you by Chickenango. Chickenango helps brands connect with their communities through thoughtful and strategic communications, specializing in public engagement, branding, and messaging for sectors such as transportation, infrastructure, energy, and government. Chickenango turns complex projects into stories that people can understand and they care about. With decades of industry experience, their team builds trust through authentic storytelling and genuine collaboration. Discover how they're making a difference at chickenango.com. Today, I have Chad here of Rise 25, who has done thousands of interviews with successful entrepreneurs and CEOs, and we have flipped the script, and he will be interviewing me. Welcome to the show, Chad.
Hey, thanks so much, Jennifer. It's great to talk to you again. Great to be here. I'm looking forward to discussing the RFP Pursuit AI Hub with you today. So let's just get right into it. I know that it's something that you're preparing to launch. If you could just tell us what it is, what the problem is that it's built to solve.
Sure, absolutely. Well, RFP Pursuit AI Hub is a end-to-end SaaS, which is software as a service. It's for specifically the architect, engineering, and construction industry. I spent 27 years in this industry putting together proposals as a proposal coordinator and then later as a business development planner. And there's a little piece that's broken. And proposals take a lot of time to prepare. A lot of these proposals are, 50, 60, 70, 80 hours. You're working on them for weeks at a time. And so the part that was missing from the industry for that this solves, I'm sorry, I'm saying that backwards, is really that first 15 to 20 hours of time. The first 15 of 20 hours of time when an RFP comes out, you get the RFP, you have to read through it. It's a lot of complex language. It's a lot of conflicting statements from one section to the next. There's a lot of ambiguity in this, in preparing these or in reading through them. And so that part takes a lot of time. And then what you have to do next is take the RFP and put it into what we call a compliance matrix to make sure that you're hitting on all of the things that are absolutely required in the proposal. And then after that stage, you go and you start putting together the draft. You're drafting your team, you're gathering projects, gathering team members, gathering sub-consultants, and putting it into the first round draft. That's like 15 or 20 hours a week, sometimes more, depending on how big the pursuit is. So this is a solution that takes that time, the 20 hours, and drills it down to about maybe 4 or 5. So it's incredibly time saving on the front end, so that the benefit of that time save is that a lot of times on the back end, where you're really trying to put together your strategy and your win themes, you run out of time for that. And this gives you back that time so that you can really prepare the proposal to win.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Was there something, or what made you decide to work on this hub right now?
Well, AI is no mystery to most of us, right?
Mhm.
About a year and a half ago, I really took a deep dive into AI and found how efficient it can be at some things. Um, obviously it doesn't solve everything. And you've got to really understand how to write prompts to get the information that you want and really utilize it in the best way that you can for the information that you're trying to get out of it. So I started creating projects. First, I started creating projects in GPT. So whenever I'd write my, let's say if it's a press release or start a, a proposal, I'd write all my information and then I would prompt the GPT to really help me um, with some of the language in there to make sure that I'm really being impactful on hitting the points that I wanted to have come across. So I started out doing that, and then I went from there and created my own GPTs
Hmm.
for our company, Chickenango, so that, now I can drop an RFP into our custom GPT and within 30 seconds, it gives me the entire summary and all the information that I really, really need to, number one, make a decision. Is this something that we would pursue or as a prime? Or obviously, if we're a sub-consultant, is this have enough meaningful work on it for us to go out and reach out to other engineering companies and try to get on their team? And so I wrote that. I wrote some other um, GPTs and really discovered how amazing AI really is and how if you give it the right information, you can get a lot of time back on, lower level tasks. So that's kind of where I started. And then I've worked with E2M. Um, I'm working exclusively with them I've got a couple of developers on my team who are helping me to take that I learned and build a system that has been missing in the
Mhm.
industry.
Can you give us an example of maybe some of the particular things that can be frustrating that caused you to work on this?
Sure. Well, there's a lot. There's a lot of time that's involved in putting together proposals. It's really stressful. You're working usually 60, 70 hours a week. You're working on weekends. It doesn't matter. Sometimes you're working till 1 or 2 in the morning. There's a hard deadline at the end of every proposal, and you've got to hit that. You've got to submit it, and you've got to have all of the checks and balances in there that you've checked every single box that they've asked you to check. Um, these proposals are very large. A lot of times they're in the multi millions, 500 million, 20 million, 50 million, 75 million, 125 million. Like they're big projects when you're working on these proposals. So you've got to really pay attention and make sure that you um, have everything in there that they requested including things like it can only be Times New Roman 12 and it can't be condensed. I literally just saw a proposal that said that the other day. So there's a lot of little nuances in these. And so um, this system helps to catch all those at the very beginning so that from the start of it, you're like ready to hit the ground running. What was the question? I
Yeah,
forgot.
just some of those that you've answered it exactly. Just the frustrating
Okay.
elements of not having it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it is very frustrating because you really want to be able to spend that time because of those high dollar amount. You want to be able to spend that time towards the end of the proposal later on in just building this amazing win theme that the client can't help but choose you, you know? There's a lot of companies that can, there are a lot of engineering companies, let's give that for an example. They're all pursuing the same project. Well, they all have the same services. They can all say, we do this, 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 and this, and this. They're all probably very qualified. But at the end of the day, it's how you tell the story to the decision makers is whether or not you're going to win that job or not necessarily because everyone else can do the same thing. So just being able to save that time and really focus on the things that are very meaningful for winning the work.
Was there a moment of personal frustration or something where you're just like, okay, this is broken and somebody needs to fix it? Or was it just kind of a process where you got to it?
Well, there's been many moments of frustration. I've many years ago before I started Chickenango and I worked at an engineering company, I was down in downtown Denver and it was 1 a.m. in the morning. And I was literally putting together, I think there was altogether 42 different stacks printed of proposals that there was five different, no, seven different submissions. So I think it was seven different submissions, 6 copies each. And they were similar but different. And I was the last one to put my eyes on these stacks and stacks of proposals that had to be turned in at 9 a.m. the next day.
Hmm.
So that wasn't uncommon. That happens to a lot of people when you're working on these proposals because everything comes down to that very last minute. And this part, that is a piece of the frustration. Imagine if we saved 20 hours on the front end, we'd really be able to not be there at the last minute trying to get it all together and printed and to the client. So it's really been a frustration forever. I've worked at 5 different engineering companies. Some of them have more sophisticated systems and some don't, but it always would come down to this last little bit. And this to me felt like a no-brainer. Like, can you imagine saving 20 hours on stuff that really, it's the later stuff that really, really matters. So,
Do those 20 hours, is that what represents what you've called the missing mile in the proposal process?
yes. Yep. Yep. In the transportation industry, they always talk about a missing mile. So it's like the missing mile of the sidewalk from, it ends here and then it doesn't pick up again for another mile down the road. And so that's a missing mile or a missing mile in freeways. So I-25 for a long time down towards Broomfield had 3 lanes and then 2 lanes and then for a mile and then a mile later 3 lanes again. So
Mm-hmm.
another missing mile. I mean, they've rectified that project now, but so to me, this is kind of that missing mile. It's the missing piece that is going to start you out on the right foot and give you a little bit of a leg up and more leverage than you had prior to having this tool.
Why do most firms who have to come up with these proposals struggle so much? What causes these 1 a.m. work sessions all the time?
Time, there's a lot. I mean, there's enough time to prepare the proposal, but a lot of companies are um, in this industry, it's a billable hour. So you're working on billable work. You have a billable target every week to maybe be 75 or 80% billable. So you're always working on these billable projects and then proposals and business development is not billable. So it becomes, even though it's a very high priority, because without that, you don't have projects, then you can't build to things, and then you don't have a company. It is a high priority, but it's also a low priority at the same time. So there's, anything that you can do to make it more efficient, especially for a project manager, let's say, because when you're putting together a proposal, you're the proposal coordinator doing the work. You're communicating, you're working closely with a project manager who's also helping you to identify what they feel like is going to be the best projects and things like that. And sometimes they have to write projects. Sometimes they don't have all the content that you need. And so you're pulling their time away from their billability. And from the start, if you could draft this proposal from the very start using your own internal content, because that's what this does.
Hmm.
It, it's set you set up with a dashboard. You're able to not only run through the RFPs really quickly, get your matrix, your compliance matrix done, have an outline. It has a whole entire another section that goes over conflicting information within the RFP. It does a risk analysis of that whole thing in case you might miss this because it wasn't actually in this section, and it flags that risk. And then towards the end, it puts together a draft with your internal content for you. So you're starting with, a 70, 80% draft, which is the goal, is to get to there and then take that down the road. And now let's really talk about the win themes of this job. So it's just amazing at how fast it can do the work for you and give you a really good starting point so that you're not there at 1 a.m. in the
Hmm.
morning. Instead, you've bought back that time.
Is there something that firms are doing that waste a lot of time, or if they would just save a lot of time if they use the RFP Pursuit AI Hub?
Well, it depends on the company, right? It
Hmm.
depends on how organized you are. So if you have your information all over the place, a lot of time is spent gathering and hunting for that information. Um, but if you have it all in one place, it's easier, but it still takes a lot of time. I mean, even just to review an RFP realistically and make sure that you're being compliant and hitting on all the points that you need to address in your proposal, that alone is easily a 4 hour job. Just because it's checking and double checking. On this page, it says this, and then you read over here and it feels like it's conflicting. So, what is the right answer? Like, that happens all the time in this whole in reading through RFPs. So, that alone is game changing.
Hmm. What would you say is maybe the real cost of an inefficient proposal process?
Oh, millions, because if it's if you're inefficient and you're not hitting on all the marks, you're wasting so much time, not just the proposal coordinator time, but you have probably 3 or 4 or more, depending on the pursuit. Even if it's a large pursuit, you probably have 15 people at any given time working on this proposal. And you're talking about pre-positioning. So a lot of times they could pre-position for a year or 2 years. So you're doing work on this back end. You've got money that you are spending as a company on this pursuit. And then it comes down and you run out of time and you're working at 1 a.m. where you could easily have a mistake, right?
Hmm.
So any time that you can cut out of that process itself, you're saving, yeah, potentially, like if you lose the job because you didn't see this one thing in the RFP and they throw your proposal out, you could have lost $50,000 of time, not including the 100 million of the project that you were going to
Hmm.
win, hopefully.
Sure.
So it's very costly.
Do you see this becoming a standard tool across firms?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've worked with we're going to be launching a test run. We're going to have probably about 5, maybe 7 engineering companies do a test of the product and get some feedback from them. Probably in a couple weeks, we're doing that. And I think, well, I already know they'll be blown away. One, two, a couple of firms who I've already been talking with it, they'll call me, they'll say, hey, I have this RFP. Could you do me a favor and run it through your system really quick and give me some of the reporting from it? Because they're just so limited on time. They don't have time. They have to respond. And it just saved them 15, 20 hours. So I know it will be a tool that everyone will use.
Last question for you. If there was an ideal fit for the RFP Pursuit AI Hub, who might that be?
Anyone, well, in the engineering construction world, they're responding to RFPs constantly. I would say anyone in that industry, a proposal coordinator, a project manager, business developer, or in the smaller firms, a lot of times, partners are doing some of the work and working with a proposal coordinator. Those are the ideal people that would use this tool. Proposal coordinators definitely would use it, and same with project managers. So in the architect, engineering, and construction industry. So yeah.
Okay, sounds good. Anything that I forgot to ask you or that you want to mention about this?
Um, Probably, but I'm sure I'll think of something later and then I'll be like, oh, I should have said that. And then I'll do it. I'll just do a YouTube video for it. So
All right, sounds good. Well, hey, always great to talk to you, Jennifer. This was very informative and very interesting. Really appreciate it.
yeah, thank you.
So long, everybody.
Thank you for listening to Own Your Next. Subscribe and share with friends. And remember, success isn't behind you. It's boldly owning your next move.